We're going to start off with this. Trevor Lawrence, who is kind of turning into a bust in a way. Like, maybe you can turn it around next season. Trevor Lawrence ended his game this week against the Houston Texans by a big boss man shimmy forearm to the head that knocked him not just out of the game, but momentarily knocked him out. Now, okay, so this is why this is interesting to me. So the play was clear, right? Trevor Lawrence ran the ball. He gave himself up. As he began his slide, Azeez Al-Shaair was a good 3 or 4 yards away from him as the slide began, and then hit him after he began to give himself up. Now, I get and I understand that football is such a fast sport that sometimes like your brain says, okay, go in for the tackle, and then you register that the slide started, and maybe you were going in low so as to not hit the quarterback high, but by the time you got to him, the quarterback was low, and now you might be going head to head or something like that. I understand that can happen sometimes. I do. But take a second and look at this image. We're not going to show the video of it, but look at the image here. When you look at this image and you watch the video, Al-Shaair didn't just go in and hit him. He went flying in, and then on the arm that he has a metal brace on, literally flies out the forearm and elbows him across the jaw. Like it wasn't just, I mean, he went in and he struck him with the forearm, like to the head. It was so clear. And then of course the teammates came in very upset. The technical term is hubbubaloo broke out on the field there. Uh-huh. And everybody's really mad and all this kind of stuff. And look, again, I understand. I do. Don't give me this, John. It's a bang, bang play. Football's a fast sport. I understand all that. But you lose any argument to me once you go in and directly lead with the forearm. Like any other excuse is now gone. Not I started my tackle motion before he started to slide, because he was still a good 3 or 4 yards away. None of this. I was kind of aiming for his midsection, then his head dropped down. All of those excuses are gone once you bring up the forearm to make it clear you're going in to hit the guy in the head. Now, I'm sure he's not a monster. I'm sure he wasn't thinking, I'm going to break this fool's neck and send him to the hospital. I'm sure he wasn't thinking that, but he was going in with, and not even with his unprotected arm. He was going in with the metal brace arm to hit him.
Lex Luger style.
I was going to say, big boss man. Yeah, that's the Lex move, my friend.
It is honestly one of the dirtiest plays. One of the dirtiest tackles.
What part of this arm is metal?
He has this metal brace.
So, okay, all right. I'm like, hold on.
He has this big sword on his hand that he comes
That part I missed. Yeah. I missed the robot man.
He's pulling a cowboy Bob Orton and still has a cast on the broken arm. That's an old wrestling reference for people who might remember it. But I just thought this was dirty as hell. And I heard some guys on the sports show saying, oh, he should get a 1-game suspension. I'm like, I think minimum he should get 2 to 3 games for that. Again, once you bring up that arm, that was a clearly targeting, intentional shot to a quarterback's head who's going down and surrendering himself. And I think minimum, you got to send a message. I mean, the minimum for this. Now, he has apologized publicly. Yeah, he's good. Yeah. So don't make it a 4 or 5 game suspension. But it should be a 2 to 3 game suspension. I don't know, Ryan, you saw the play happen. I don't know. Am I overreacting? I don't know. What do you think?
I was actually shocked when I saw it, because a lot of times when the quarterbacks slide, like you're saying, this is a bang bang play. They're trying to make a tackle, and some quarterbacks do kind of take advantage of the sliding rule. They'll kind of pretend, or they'll kind of like they're going to run out of bounds. So I understand the defense has to
finish
make a
the
decision,
tackle. Finish the play,
and make the tackle. But this one was pretty blatant. He was sliding. He was already pretty much down. Azeez flew in, hit him in the face with the forearm, knocked him out. Trevor Lawrence immediately went into I guess they call it the fencing pose.
Yeah.
When you lift your arms with your fists closed, it's called the fencing pose.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you could tell instantly he was out. And then basically I don't know if I'm assuming he knew what he did because he got up and he was acting like he didn't do anything wrong immediately. But then that's when the Jags players came out and started fighting basically everybody on the Texans.
That's when the hullabaloo broke out. So
Yeah.
he didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance for to pull up or oops, my bad.
Yeah. I mean, this one is pretty blatant. I do think they probably need to suspend him for more than one game. After the game, the Texans coach, D'Amico Ryans, kind of made a weird comment about...
He blamed the Jags players for overreacting.
Yeah, if it was reversed and Stroud took that hit, the Texans would have done the same thing.
Absolutely,
so
or worse.
Yeah, so I don't buy that. I think that was kind of a shit comment, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'll say it was an idiot comment.
Yeah.
It was
he's sticking up for his player.
Very smart coach, by the way.
Yeah, he's a great
I don't know
coach.
if he's trying to just deflect or defend his own players, which, if he is, good for him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is an idiot comment.
But,
Sure.
I mean, I do understand, yes. I'm sure probably there were some Jags players who were, they probably should have stayed back. But at the same time, this is their starting quarterback who just got taken out blatantly
who was
in front of him.
surrendering himself.
Yeah. So, and concussions, everyone knows, we talked about two in our other episodes. Like, you get one concussion, that's the start down a road of getting them more.
Yeah.
And Lawrence is, like you're saying, he's not, I don't think he's living up to his potential, but at the same time, I don't think the Jags have been giving him
Much
what
to
he
work
needs.
with.
Yeah, and the coaching's suspect and stuff. So, but yeah, taking a hit this early in a career like that is really bad.
Yeah, Matt, going out early in this, that's the rough one. And yeah, going into that fencing position is bad all the time. Then that's when it gets overreact. Like, people do get those passions get up. Those people, you have to defend your guy.
Yeah, you got to.
So you got to be on him quick. So there's really no time for like, oops, my bads. But those ones that's a tough one, dude, because it is fast. It's so fast, man. And watching it, I've seen it a bunch of times in slow motion, and that's always tough to judge.
That's even worse.
So
yeah, well, and like trying to judge a hit on slow motion if you're trying to see intent is kind of iffy. But this one was pretty much this. If you wanted to take a guy out, this is kind of how you do it. It's right in the face.
In response to the Jags players then defending their guy, I mean, you hate saying it, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
Because like if one of your teammates say, "Hey, go take a shot at that guy," you got to be able to know, if I do that, I'm going to have four 350 pounders on me. There in hockey, of course, the greatest professional athlete of all time is that guy, Wayne Gretzky. And back in the day when he was on the Edmonton Oilers, like you guys remember, the movie in what's it called, in Goon?
Yeah.
Right? Look, there isn't really anymore in the NHL. There used to be a role on a team, an unofficial role of the enforcer.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers, back in the day when Wayne Gretzky was playing, had a guy on their team by the name of Dave Semenko, also affectionately known as Dave Cementhead. He wasn't the most skilled player in the NHL, but here's what would happen. When Gretzky was on the ice, Gretzky was not only the most valuable asset to the Edmonton Oilers, he was the most valuable asset to the NHL. When somebody accidentally would graze up against Wayne Gretzky too hard, a guy who didn't get a lot of ice time, all of a sudden, here comes Dave Semenko is getting a shift. Dave Semenko would go out and beat the living shit right there in front of the TV cameras. He would beat the shit out of anybody who touched Gretzky the wrong way.
Yeah.
And the reality was that meant Wayne Gretzky stayed healthy most of his career because he didn't take a lot of cheap shots.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up the one thing, though, that the other interesting side note about this is there are a couple of rule changes I think the NFL needs to make. And one of them is what I would call the Patrick Mahomes rule.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Where, we've seen what happens when Patrick Mahomes was 1 inch out of bounds and a guy still made contact with him, flags, right? When a quarterback is sliding, they give him this up, you got to avoid it. I think they need to introduce something called the Patrick Mahomes rule, which I think, Ryan, you were telling me they might have something like this in college now, where I think if a quarterback starts to do something that tells the other team you need to keep hands off now, like starting a slide, going out of bounds.
Like jazz hands.
Like jazz hands. Like sliding, going out of bounds. If you do that and fake it, because remember we saw Patrick Mahomes do that a little earlier, where he pretended he was going out of bounds, so all the defenders are like, back off. And then he didn't go out of bounds and kept on going down. I can't remember if he scored the touchdown or not.
No, I get it. Mahomes is to blame for this. I think you're right. John's onto something here, gang.
In college, it's like the people will go like they're going to slide. and then the defender will stop running, and then they won't slide.
Yeah,
and then
I
they'll
think
keep
there
going.
needs to be a rule that says if a quarterback is deemed to do it, because you know what happened to Al-Shaair for hitting him? Game ejection.
Yeah.
I think if you're a quarterback and you fake that, I think it should be game ejection.
Sure.
I think you're out of the game.
Yeah.
I don't think quarterbacks should be allowed to use rules that are specifically designed to protect their safety as an offensive weapon to gain extra yards. Like, I think if you do something where where you're trying to preach to defenses across the league, when you see a quarterback do this, you need to pull up.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, then you got to take away the allowance of quarterbacks to fake it then. Because that's just a complete unfair advantage. And I think quarterbacks should either be 15-yard penalty, game ejection, whatever.
I think it should be 15 yards, then they lose the down, then go back.
Oh, 15 yards and a down.
Yeah,
I like that.
Because throwing out of the game's a little much, but it needs to be a penalty where they really, it's like intentional grounding.
Tit for tat. Because if the guy hits you when you're going down, they get thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
So I think if you fake going down, so you make the defenders by rule have to pull up and not hit you, I think it should be equal on both sides. It should be a game ejection.
How about if they do it, the quarterback has to stand there, and the defense just gets to level them with a spear.
Get a 20-yard head start.
Yeah, Goldberg style.
This is like 2 for flinching.
Yeah.
In the reverse.
Yeah.
In the reverse. 1 for faking.
Now you got to take the real hit.
Now you have to take the actual hit. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about it? It was in all seriousness, it was a pretty nasty hit and could have been, the results and consequences could have been dire. What do you think? No suspension, 1-game suspension? I think minimum 2-game suspension. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts.